it's always a fun. Actually, it's not fun. It's it's a war anytime you go up against Illinois.
Welcome everyone to a Big Ten Network chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by three Big Ten men's basketball head coaches, Mike Woodson from Indiana, Fred Hoiberg from Nebraska, and Brad Underwood from Illinois. Brad, I will start with you, and if we can all sort of chime in here, just an overall sense of what it's been like the last couple of weeks of getting ready for this season after everything that everyone went through last year at this time and all the uncertainty and single workouts and not being able to group together. What's it been like to finally get out there and actually have a little sense of normalcy, Brad?
Yeah, refreshing. I think that is the word I use all the time. It's fun just to be back around people, seeing people with a smile on their face. I think there's a tremendous sense of appreciation for what we all went through last year, and no fans. I think it's exciting at football games to again tailgate and see people, and there's a different energy that we have in our gym because of that. So it's I use the word refreshing. It's just great to be back to something next to normal.
Fred, Mike?
Yeah, it was so hard on all of us last year with what we had to deal with basically no off season, and especially when you have a whole new team and you're trying to put your offensive defensive schemes in, it's extremely difficult to do that in individual or small group workouts, basically with their roommates. So to have the opportunity to get back to some normalcy of full team practice where we're able to do little things, a lot more fundamentals than we were able to do last year, basically when you're trying to throw everything together once you start practices in a couple week time frame. And then you had to go through all the testing protocols. And I couldn't agree more with Brad. The excitement that we have to get back into PBA in front of our great fans is exciting. And to be back at the football games, to see the energy and the electricity in the air, I think it's exciting for all of us.
Well, I kind of add the same thing to that. I mean, being the new man on the block, there's a lot of buzz around Indiana University these days with the students being back. And, I was at the football game the other day where we had about 50,000 people. And just to be able to be back on the basketball floor, we've kind of had a jump, Andy, in terms of being able to work for 2 months before we actually went to the Bahamas. We took the team out there. So that was fun for me, being new here at Indiana University, getting an opportunity to get the players back out on the floor and work with them, and then make the trip to the Bahamas just to kind of see where we were as a team for 2 games. So, I'm excited about the fact that we are back out on the floor. And I know the players are too. So that really helps.
Well, Mike, to follow up there were coaches around the country last year that had to take over teams without any kind of summer workouts. And you actually had a chance to actually get to know your guys, especially the transfers, and take them on a trip. I know Fred and Brad, you guys have done that over the course of your careers. How beneficial do you think that will be, Mike, that you actually got that advantage, heading into this season that anyone last year didn't have?
Well, I like to think it's given me a chance to get to know our players and the new guys that we brought in with the old guys, give them an opportunity to bond and work. And it's given me and my staff an opportunity to put things in on both sides of the basketball early and then try to see how it fares once we get out on the basketball floor. That was my whole big thing going to the Bahamas. Once we got there, yeah, you want to win, but you also want to see how much they've attained over the 2 months that you've been working.
Brad and Fred and Mike, if we can chime in on this topic, is that the combination of the extra year because of COVID, NIL, and the fact that last year wasn't normal, no fans, how much do you think that contributed to Kofi Coburn coming back, Trey McGowan's, Trace Jackson Davis, and what you're seeing from these guys now that they are back for this hopefully semi-normal season, Brad?
Yeah, I think that it's. I don't think there's any doubt it was a factor for Kofi. Kofi had a lot of decisions to make this offseason, not only NBA wise, but entering the portal. I think for the first time in my 35 years as a collegiate coach, we're seeing multiple issues. A lot of times we just see one major change. Now we're seeing so many with the portal, with NIL, potential restructuring of conferences, the Alston case, and then coming off COVID. And so there's so many different feelings right now going out and unknowns. And so I think it's impacted our young guys. I think they're, in Kofi's case, he's got a legacy at our place. He was very comfortable with that. And, our team and university is a beneficiary of that.
Fred?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a unique time in our sport right now in college athletics. And, it's for us, we had two guys that took advantage of their extra year, Trevor Lakes and Kobe Webster, that decided to come back and try to build off of what we did late in the year last year, and saw what we had coming in with our recruiting class and a couple of the transfers that they had. They wanted to be a part, of that moving forward. But there is a lot of moving parts right now that I think all of us are still trying to figure out how it will all play out with what you talked about, Andy. For the year not counting last year, it also is going to make things a little bit dicey for us moving forward on who's going to use their extra year in this upcoming season to get back under your scholarship limit at 13. So there's a lot of things that you have to deal with right now. But, like we said earlier, the fact that hopefully we won't have the shutdowns that all of us went through at some point last season. It was so disruptive and made it so difficult to have any type of continuity. Us, for example, we went through a 21-day shutdown where we couldn't even be in the gym. Got 5 practices and played 14 games in 30 days. That was very hard on our guys. So hopefully we're past all that. We can move forward and have a normal year.
Mike?
I think, for me, being new at the college level, I think the thing that scared me more than anything was the portal. When I first came in, I had most of my guys in the portal, and that was scary for me. So I had to do some damage control in terms of sitting down with the top guy, which was Trace, and convincing him to stay on board. And I think once we were able to do that, we were able to get other guys to fall in line. I didn't keep everybody. I lost a couple of players in the portal, but I was able to go back in the portal and take advantage of it. So, there are a lot of moving pieces, like both coaches have said, and I'm still learning, trying to figure it out. But I think the thing that has helped me more than anything was that I've had an opportunity to get to know my team now a lot quicker than I thought I would, by having the opportunity to take them to the Bahamas and playing those 2 games. And now we're back on campus, and school's back in full go, and we're doing what we need to do on the floor, which is kind of nice.
So, Fred, you obviously were not gone as long as Mike was from the college game, from college to NBA and back to college. But I'm just curious, your thoughts on what that transition was like that Mike's obviously going to experience going from the NBA back to college.
Well, it's, first of all, from my first stint coaching at Iowa State, going to coaching for almost 4 years at the NBA level, and now back to college, it's so much different than it was my first stint in coaching. Things have changed in a huge way, and they're only, by the day, changing more. When I first got the job at Iowa State, I did take advantage of the transfer portal, and we built our team very quickly with 4 very high-profile players that helped us turn that program around very quickly. We weren't competing at that time against Duke and Kentucky and Kansas, really every team now for transfers. We were competing against really lower level schools at that time. And now everybody, just with the makeup and the landscape of college basketball and the transfer portal where it is, having almost 1,800 kids in there, everybody's using that as a way to put talent into their roster. So when I was doing it at Iowa State, we didn't have that same type of competition. Now with NIL coming into play and all the different things, it's a game changer. I think all of us are still trying to figure out how it will exactly play out. We're certainly in favor of our kids making money off their name, image, likeness. But I think we're all still trying to figure out exactly how that will play out. But yeah, it's good experience, going to the NBA, coaching against the greatest minds in the world, and hopefully we can get it turned around here quickly.
So, Brad, you've done a great job of being old school in your coaching, but at the same time adjusting and adapting. But at the same time, and Matt Painter, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, is that you still need to obviously be all in, and whatever you're doing outside of basketball is great as long as you are focused on this. How are you balancing that with your players taking advantage of this new world that they potentially can do, but at the same time making sure that it's really not going to matter if you don't perform well, and that has to start when you're in the gym?
Yeah, a lot of conversations. One of my biggest concerns is managing their time, helping them manage their time, and we've been pretty proactive here at Illinois, hiring someone within our athletic department that helps us handle it. We've hired somebody internally that is, again, helping us manage that. We have weekly meetings with our players, basically helping them manage their schedules, not being involved in it, but managing their time. And, and we talk a great deal about, student first basketball player, and that name on the front of your jersey is equally as important. So let's not forget why you're popular and why you're doing so well. And, the basketball part, the academic part, the name on the front of your jersey is equally as important.
Mike, to that point in the NBA, how did you see when players had a lot of other commitments at the same time? They had to obviously make sure that they were all in when they were with you.
Well, again, that comes down to coaching. It comes down to front office in terms of making sure guys understand the dynamics of what our sport is about. And, you can easily get sidetracked, based on the money and all the things that surround the NBA world, because it's a rat race at times. And but if you can form and put a team together of players that understand that, then you're ahead of the game in terms of how your team is going to perform. But it's different, and I think the NIL thing is going to change college basketball as well, because again, you got to learn to and work with these players and get them to understand that it's still about academics and the sport itself, and the jersey and uniform that you wear for each institution. So it's still new to everybody. It's new to me, and we're still trying to figure it out here at Indiana in terms of where we're going to go with this, because I think it is a game changer.
So Fred and Brad, I know that the logo behind me and on my chest, so you could say, oh, I'm shilling, but the facts are the facts. The last couple of years, the Big Ten was as good, if not the best conference during the regular season in decades. And I've been doing this for a long time, 30 plus years. But the postseason is a different issue, but it is a one-game elimination situation, unlike the NBA with long series. Fred and Brad, if you just speak the sort of the two things, that A, how tough it was and will still be in the regular season versus what happens in the postseason. Fred?
Yeah, the last 2 years, Andy, I would say, when I came into the league as, a program that was under a massive rebuild, and it was extremely difficult going into that first year, knowing what we were up against. And, I think we were the only rebuild in the Big Ten that first year that I took over, and to have to try and navigate and keep your guys positive and keep them upbeat and try to make progress and take steps in the right direction when you're competing against the best players in the country night in and night out. Last year, it got better, which is hard to fathom after that first year that we took over. And, you're going up against great players like we are. And, the one thing this year, I think the league is going to be another incredible year. And now you're playing in hostile environments, hopefully with the fans back in attendance. And our freshmen never experienced that last year, of what it was like to go into these arenas, which have the best fan base. And I think attendance, when you look at Big Ten over the years, is far and away number one in the country. But yeah, as far as what happened in the tournament, Andy, I can't speak to that right now, but I know this, when we were up competing against those teams that were in the tournament, when you look at what we did in the regular season, it was just a phenomenal year in the Big Ten. And I think all of us, what you do is you compete in the regular season to give yourself a chance to win a championship. And I'm confident the Big Ten will be there this upcoming season.
Brad?
Yeah, I think when this is starting year 5, and I think one of the things that's so impressive is you have programs that have just unbelievable and very steep cultures and traditions. And, you can start at Michigan State, you can start at Purdue, from Gene Katie to Matt Painter to Judd to Tom, Wisconsin's very much in that. You start looking, Turge has been there a long time now, and you start looking and you're like, how do we catch up to these guys? Everybody's got great facilities. Everybody's, I think we're 44 years now, maybe the top attendance. I say this every game's, it's not a game, it's an event. And it's a different mentality. It's such a grind. Every place is hard to win. Best coaching, best players, best venues, best fan bases. It just makes it so difficult. And we were one of those teams. We were 1 seed. We got upset. I think for us, it was a great learning experience. I look around. I think a lot of great programs have gone through that. We did not understand the abruptness of the end. And you can't have a bad game. It's not like the NBA where it's a series. You can't have a bad game. And we did. We went home, and all I know to do is try to go repeat that and get back in that tournament again. And when you're competing in this league, you're never going to be unprepared. You're going to be the most prepared you could be.
All right, last thing here, quickly around here. Mike, for those that have not seen either your teams with Knicks or other stops in the NBA, what can they expect on what Indiana will look like this season?
Well, again, we're still trying to put pieces together, and it's hard for me to even relay anything in terms of my team and how we're going to play on both ends of the floor. But I'll say this, I've always coached and try to put teams in the best position to win and to be successful. And the only way you do that, you got to get your team to compete on a high level every night that they step out on the floor. And that starts in practice every day. And that's what I'm pushing. You can't play this game and expect to win if you don't play it at a high level and play hard every night. And again, being new to this team, like I said earlier, I'm just trying to put my stamp on how I coach and the things that I expect players to do on and off the court, and hopefully that'll carry over in the wins. That's kind of how I look at it. But I'll say this, Andy, we'll be competitive, and that's how I coach. And we all want to win, but you got to get your teams to believe in what you do as a coach on and off the floor, on both ends of the floor, and give yourself a chance to win.
Well, I'll say it. I think you guys are going to be a contender. Fred, what will the team look like? And then very quickly on the back end of that comment, what makes playing Illinois so difficult? Go ahead, Fred.
Well, I'll start with it with our team. I couldn't agree more with Mike. The number one thing is getting them to understand how hard you have to compete, especially in this league. If you're not ready to go out there mentally, physically, you're going to get embarrassed when you step on the floor. For us, the physicality, we're trying to get our kids to understand, especially ones that have come in from other leagues or young freshmen, how hard you have to play and the urgency that you have to play with on every possession. And then the other thing is fighting through adversity. It's going to hit you every time you step on the floor, understanding how to control your emotions. Don't let, your highs get too high, your lows get too low. Just stay consistent, especially when times get tough. As far as Illinois, what makes them difficult, I think Brad is as good as there is in this business. And, we had a great game against them last year, ended up losing the game in overtime. They're just so physical and tough, and, they take on the makeup and the attitude of their coach. And I think Brad has done a phenomenal job at every stop he's been at. And, you see how he turned around, getting Illinois back to a 1 seed. And, I think it's going to be a team that competes for championships year in and year out. But, I think the world of him. He's been great to, run things off of when I got into this league as a rebuilding team. And he's been phenomenal to me, as a new coach in this league. So, it's always actually, it's not fun. It's a war anytime you go up against Illinois. But as I said, I think Brad's as good as there is in this business.
All right, Brad, you get the last word. What's this Illinois version going to look like without Io? And return the favor. Coaching against Fred. What do you expect?
Obviously we lose a draft choice and a guy that was a big part of our rebuild and a big part of our program. I think a little bit along what Mike said. I think we're trying to fit in a couple transfers. I think that it's a little early to say who's going to take that role. I like the fact that we've got Kofi. I like the fact we've got some veterans back. Both Trent Frazier and DeMonte Williams came back. We're going to guard. We'll see how it works on the offensive end, or at least I think we're going to guard. We're going to play hard. But again, facing Nebraska, I did this when Fred was at Iowa State. There's no better offensive mind in the game than Fred. He's a brilliant offensive mind. That his team went through something that no other team, and he'll benefit from that this year. Playing all of those games in a 21-day, 30-day period, whatever it was really a challenge. But they got better. And that team continued to grow, and he's got a lot of veterans back. He's got a lot of experience back. He's got a top flight recruiting class. He's got one of the toughest places to play in this league and a great fan base. And, I think the one thing you're going to see is Nebraska making a huge jump. They're ready to do that. They're being led by a guy who's proven he can do it at the very highest levels, and they're going to be good.
Well, it's great to see all of you, and I can't wait to see all of you in person this year. That's definitely going to happen, whether you like it or not. Mike, Fred, and Brad, I appreciate all of you, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.